very small session for sharing whatever I know from the perspective of application development, mobile application development. Let me record it first. Okay, the reason why I try to make this like a demo, this is not like academic kind of thing or per se, because I don't produce document that much. I do have some slides which I already shared in the chat box, um, which I think I found that iOS application development these days is quite hard as compared to Android development and also hybrid application development. So I discovered this knowledge here, which I think is very useful now. Um, there are lots of other methods that we can debate and we can choose for developing mobile application, but this is one way. Maybe I can start now. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'll share the screen, hopefully. All right. So for the first round, we will start with some theoretical punya knowledge about developing iOS native app. Um, there are lots of initial knowledge needs to be uh, given first. Only then we can start develop some code, very simple code, one screen. The idea of developing iOS native app using Xcode is actually to develop an app with a single screen, which for this purpose I'm using virtual machine Catalina. This is macOS on 10.15.4. I'm using Xcode 11.4.1, so that's the latest one, and also Catalina also the latest one. Using Objective-C for developing this mobile application. To run the application or mobile application, I'm using a simulator because I do have iPhone, but unfortunately, I'm working on Windows punya machine, and I'm installing virtual machine. So somehow it doesn't work. My phone doesn't work with the virtual machine, probably because of the connection. But that's fine, a small thing. So we are going to develop. We are going to run to test rapidly using a simulator, iPhone 11 Pro Max. Okay. So the thing that we try to achieve, nampak banyak, like 8 points, but those are, macam saya cakap, the initial things are only the theoretical part. So the iOS application, basically, we want to discuss what is iOS application, what's the life cycle, what is native app. I introduced native app. So there are other apps like hybrid app, React native app. So kita akan discuss accordingly. And what's the purpose of using Xcode to develop iOS app, and how to run iOS prototype or iOS app prototype. How to publish iOS app, and what's the cost structure to publish iOS app on Apple Store or App Store. The next one is how to make money out of the app, and the last but not least is actually some practical example on developing a simple one-screen app. So generally, iOS application is the one is an app that we build using iOS platform. So kita boleh develop iOS based on the devices that we have, either on phones or tablets. We can also develop on TVs. We have Apple TV, and we have some Apple Watches and other wearable devices that may be introduced after this. So based on the market distribution or market share of iOS and Android, currently estimated in 2023, it should have, iOS would have 12.6% out of 100% of market share, whereby Android would have 87.4%. So the reason why I introduced this kind of statistic is actually to give some idea why iOS is still viable in the market. Although the percentage is very less as compared to Android, because Android has, there are thousands of brands working with Android, whereby on iOS only Apple is the one is using its own operating system. But it's worth for, I would say, for developers, or probably those who wants to who has interest to develop iOS to learn about this developing iOS app. Okay. So this is just a small thing. I don't want to make it more like too technical. So everything has its own life cycle. From software engineering, Android also has its own life cycle. So similarly goes to iOS. We have actually in iOS, it has two life cycle, app life cycle and also the view life cycle. So app life cycle basically is the one that is controlling the app as a whole, where view lifecycle is the one that is controlling the view or the screen or the how would say maybe the page. So we consider one screen is one page. We can say that like that lah, to get the connection between how to build an analogy screen in web application, for instance. Okay. Again, app lifecycle is for the app as a whole. View lifecycle is for the screen itself. So in app lifecycle, it started with UI kit. So when the user taps the application icon, so when from the home screen of your iPhone, for instance, user tap the application icon on the screen and it will go to the main. And then once it goes to the main and the application will be running. See? So when this application is running, the third box UI application main means this is where the application will start running. But you cannot do anything at this point. We just make sure that the app is running, but we cannot interact with the app. So when it comes to event loop, so in event loop in the UI kit, so this is where user can interact with the app, like pushing a button, scrolling around down back at atas and bawah. So this is the process of how iOS handles event. So so the next one is system asks application to quit foreground. So the one that is controlled by the view lifecycle is this is what we call as application will design active. Okay, this is the one. For example, if you while you are working with the app, for example, if you are opening an WhatsApp, for instance, and somebody calls you, definitely the call application will be on the top of WhatsApp. And WhatsApp cannot be used at the moment. So that is where the application will go to will quit the foreground. Means it will go to the foreground. So you cannot interact with the app, whereby you can interact with the phone app. So that's the example. So after that, if the phone finish, if somebody calls you and it finishes, and then you can go back to event loop. However, if suddenly you close the app will go to background. Application moves to background. It means you are, as a user, you are going back to the main device screen, like the how to say, the main screen of your mobile phone. Okay, so this is how actually iOS controls the life cycle, controls the process or the activities of the device using this life cycle. The reason why I introduced this because we will touch only one bit in the development where I will share with you some knowledge on how to make sure that the program runs or the app runs correctly in the code. Hopefully, if you have any question, feel free to ask. This is not one-way session because I'm also new to this area, but I believe this sharing knowledge is always good. Learn is it won't finish until the end of the day. Okay. So as introduced in the initial slides when we first start, so I introduced that we are going to develop iOS native app. So what is native app? What is hybrid app? What is framework based app? So native app is basically as what we call as asli, original. It means you can, for example, if you develop iOS app in Xcode, it means it can be used for Apple platform or iOS platform. If you build for you using Java for, in an Android Studio, it means you can only use for Android devices. You cannot do like one code for everything. No, that is native. But if it's in hybrid means one code run everywhere. Okay, so generally in native, kita boleh pakai, for example, there are some languages that is support by native. So macam for Android, there are Java and also Kotlin. For iOS, we have Objective-C and Swift. So that is for iOS and Android. We go back to hybrid. So hybrid, the way how hybrid runs is actually it runs like a web application in a container. So in that web container is actually running on the mobile phone or mobile devices. We can still use some of the hardware of the devices, macam camera and GPS. Unfortunately, sometimes due to the limitation of hybrid application, you may not be able to access some hardware of the devices, for example, sensors. So I would say from the perspective of the development, if you work for a non-complex application, people always go with hybrid. But if you work with a complex application that uses sensors, microphone and whatnot, they will go with native, because native is powerful. However, native is not flexible because it's only for one platform. You build one program, you build by using one language, is only for one platform. Hybrid, one code, you can run on both iOS and Android. So there is another one called as React Native. So React Native is a framework developed by Facebook, because Facebook discovered that native is very old and it's very hard to, sometimes it's very hard to develop. Hybrid, somehow not very powerful. Also it is useful and flexible but not very powerful. So they come up with what they call as React Native, still based on native. They try to combine hybrid and native by using JavaScript. I have no idea, I have no experience developing React Native. I have experience in developing native and hybrid. So it's very hard for me to explain how React Natives work, I mean in terms of development, but that's the introduction about React Native. So in these three categories of app, we know that hybrid is the one that is not, I don't say native and React Native are superior, but I would say hybrid is the least, hybrid has some limitations, which native and React Native as of now we can build more features. Like for example, if you want to pinch on the screen, and also if you want to use double tap on the screen, you can do that in native and also React Native, but you cannot do that in hybrid. Hybrid has some limitation to access some hardware of the devices. Okay. So let's move out to, so we discussed about native and whatnot and lifecycle, and we want to discuss a little bit about Xcode. I'm not sure about your experience in developing Xcode. I believe me, you may have some experience, but if you don't, so basically Xcode is an IDE, is a tool to develop Apple-based apps, which you can develop for Mac OS, iOS, iPad, watchOS, and also tvOS. However, although it says in most tabloids or in most blogs Xcode is free, unfortunately Xcode is free only on Catalina. So Catalina version is 10.15. If you have High Sierra 10.14 and 10.13 Sierra, you cannot, I've tried once. It seems that I cannot download and install Xcode on Mac OS. It's free only for Catalina. So this is one of the challenges for native developers. Even some native developers of iOS, they move to hybrid and they move to React Native because of this reason. They can get only with Catalina. If they have lower version of Mac OS, they cannot have Xcode. So in running the prototype, so once we build some prototype or some codes or screens on Xcode, we have similar like Android. So we have simulate. In Android we call as emulator. However, in Xcode or in iOS development using Xcode, we have some virtual machines as what we call as simulators. So the reason why we use simulators is to mimic some actual devices. However, there is a general rules. As I mentioned before, I have iPhone, but it is not connected with my virtual machine. So another general rule is, if you work with several, for example, if you want to build iOS, for some apps for mobile phone and also for tablet, you must have several layout or several interface design. You cannot use one for multiple devices. That's one of the problem with native application development. Okay, so if we can see here, so this is the list of simulators that is available for you. So when you have Xcode, sometimes these are the things that you can choose from. So normally I will go with iPhone 11 Max Pro, which is not here. Maybe this is the old version. And there are iPads, there are iPhones. So if you build also for like tvOS or watchOS, you can also get some pre-installed simulators available here. But because this is when I install, I choose only probably we have to download from Apple website to get the watchOS punya simulator if you develop something for watchOS. Okay, because I'm accessing the screen now, I don't know if you guys have questions, but feel free to ask. Okay. Or maybe you can share in the SE group, because I'm also opening both, several devices together parallelly. Okay. We want to touch a bit on publishing the app and also making money out of the app. So in publishing the app, so this is one of the expensive costs for developing iOS app, because yearly you have to pay $99. You have to pay as the subscription to the Apple platform. So for example, in a year, you may have several release, version 1.1, and maybe after a few months you want to release version 1.2. You still have to pay $99. There's no additional cost, but it's only for 1 year. If you want to go for another year, then you have to pay another $99, depending on how you want to structure the registration of your account. So to become the developer of iOS app, regardless of any platform like watchOS, tvOS, or whatever, you must have the Apple developer program, and you must have iTunes Connect. So the reason why we must have iTunes Connect is, remember that we have to pay the $99. This is we cannot pay by using by using credit card or whatnot. We have to pay directly from iTunes Connect. So you have to connect your credit card or debit card with iTunes Connect. Once you have money inside the iTunes Connect, and you have to pay this $99 for yearly subscription. And also, if you charge for your app, if somebody wants to download your app and you want to charge them maybe like, I don't know, maybe 10 ringgit, 15 ringgit, iTunes Connect is the platform, or is the entity that will collect the money. So that's the reason they use iTunes Connect, because iTunes Connect is also one of the product of Apple. They want to utilize it. However, another, I would say another, I don't say drawback, but this is like something that we have to, some area of concern. Apple won't publish your apps unless they finish reviewing your product, your app itself. So it might take like 4 to 5 weeks for reviewing process. Once you finish, you have to, maybe they will ask you to change something, to fix something, fix some bugs. Only then you can upload back your app into the platform. They call as maybe app dashboard. I forgot the name. So once you fix the bugs and whatnot, change whatever Apple asks you to do, we upload the app back to the platform, and only then you can publish. You can start do marketing related to the app. Okay. So another thing is, for example, if I think in Unical we do have some app for the students, right? So if we want to distribute app within our company, we have to also, we call as enterprise distribution policy, which we have to pay $300 a year. So this is a very strict rules imposed by Apple if they discover, if they know you distribute some apps of Apple apps in enterprise without their consent, without their knowing, they can simply send you some penalty and whatnot. Okay. So as I mentioned, iTunes Connect is the one that will collect the money on behalf of you. So there are several ways for us to make money out of the app. We can choose the first one, pay per download, means we charge any customers or users whenever they download the app. It's a one-time cost. The next one is freemium. It means that you provide basic features of the app for free. However, if the user wants to go extra mile, if it wants to go with premium features, they have to pay. So this is what we call as freemium. In-app purchases, like if you play games, you can purchase some diamonds, you can purchase some lives, and maybe if you want to purchase some, templates or whatnot that is provided on the app, this is a kind of in-app purchases mechanism. And also, you can also put some advertisement. I think if you go with the real example of advertisement is something like Muslim Pro. So I'm using Muslim Pro for Azan and Quran. So in Muslim Pro, whenever we tap on the app icon, so we will be in the app. So after several seconds, there will be some advertisement popping up on the screen. So that is a kind of advertisement that I was talking about. So we can have like per click advertisement or whatever mechanism we want to use in Apple, but generally we cannot develop the advertisement platform itself. Apple has its own Apple advertisement mechanism, which you have to use it. We have to subscribe for it. I'm not sure is it free or not, but generally the advertisement that contains in that platform is already established. People, some big companies, they already paid Apple to make sure that their advertisement is there on Apple advertisement platform. Okay. So I think there are several introduction about Xcode, about the code now. Okay. So in Xcode, in iOS development, there are, if we can see the screen, there are quite a few numbers of files that we have to manage if we work for large scale application. But in this example, I just use one, but I have to introduce to you a little bit about some of the files that you will use if you develop iOS application. The first one is Storyboard. So Storyboard is the main visual representation of the user interface. So if you want to change the button, if you want to add some we call as UI elements like text field or probably label, you have to change in Storyboard. So there are other files like app delegate and scene delegate. So app delegate is the one that will handle system level events. Remember that I was talking about this one? When the application is deactivated, when the application is reactivated after that. So app delegate is the one that will handle the lifecycle of the app. Okay. So lifecycle can be activate, suspend, send to background, reactivate, and many more. So this is the one that will be controlled by app delegate. I don't say app delegate will control by itself. So you have to write some code to make sure that whenever your app is in any particular lifecycle of iOS, you have to write some logic if you want to. If you work with complex app, you have to write something. And then we have the next one of scene delegate. So scene delegate is something is very new. I have not used scene delegate before this. So this is for iOS 13. Even I'm running on my phone is quite old, iPhone 6. So iPhone 6 I have iOS 12 point something. So iOS 13 is I think for iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro Max. Okay. So the reason why we have they ask us to use scene delegate. So if we run multiple scene, which I will show you in the next slide, we have to write some codes in scene delegate. So what is multiple scene or multiple windows? Like this one. So this is multiple scene. See? So we have two nodes. So generally, if we run on iPad or iPhone, we can have only one nodes application open. However, in version 13, iOS 13, iOS allows user to have two scenes together. So this is two scenes, one application but two scenes. Okay, so this is multiple scenes that I was talking about. We have two slides before we jump into programming. A very simple one. So before we start with the code, I want to introduce to you a little bit about what is view and also view controller. As the picture given here, so view is the one on the screen, whereby view controller is the one that will manage the view. So in each view, kita nampak on the left is small view, on the right is a big view. So in each view we can have subviews, either on small view or large view, doesn't matter, but we can have multiple subviews. And if we have two views, we will have two view controller. If we have five views, we will have five view controller. So that's the purpose. So view will manage subviews, as I give as the given definition here. View will handle UI elements and subview, whereby view controller will control the views and also the subviews. If I want to switch off some view, I have to write some code in view controller. So that's the purpose of view and view controller. So that for the development purposes today, we are going to develop one screen app by using Objective-C. So this app is developed in Xcode using simulator of iPhone 11 Pro Max. So I have, let me share the entire screen. Okay, let me share the entire screen now, because I don't know if okay, please let me know if because I will run my own virtual machine. Please let me know if maybe you cannot see my virtual machine. Can wait. Alamak. Okay. Can you see my virtual machine?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Okay. So this is the virtual machine. So because I don't have Mac, unfortunately, so I have to install virtual machine. I install Catalina on this virtual machine. So is oops. It feels great when I work on Windows and I can run Mac. Unfortunately, I have a very small partition left on my C drive, so I have to be very careful for this purpose. Okay, right. So okay, I want to start new. So when we assuming that we start new now, wait, okay. So when we first open Xcode, so this is how Xcode looks like when we first start, when we want to start with the development. So we have to choose create a new Xcode project on the screen, and the second option, choose this one. It's quite slow, unfortunately. Okay. So there are several templates given by Xcode. So I want to start with, so we can see that we can develop for iOS, watchOS, tvOS and whatnot, or there is one new thing they call as cross-platform, but maybe for games only. I have no idea about it. So we're going to start with single view app. So let's start now. Okay. So this is almost similar like Android. Those who have experience working with Android Studio, So we have to put product name. We can give anything like SE demo. I'll give SE demo. We can have organization name. You can put anything. So com.hadi. Okay. So what is organization identifier? This is the importance of having this is almost similar like on Android. So if we publish this, for example, if we have hadiah, for instance, okay, if we have com.hadiah, this will be in your app forever. So sometimes people will say, oh, this is not important for me, because when I read some blogs and some development guideline, so they ask even developers, they choose correctly this one. So you have to choose correctly even when before we start the development. So I will have com.hadi .se-demo as my file name or project name. So we are going to use language Objective-C. I don't know Swift that much. I do have some idea about what is Swift, but I don't know how to develop in Swift. So user interface, we have to choose Storyboard. So this is the main. Remember that we have the Storyboard, the main visual representation of our UI elements. So we are going to use Storyboard for this purpose. And then so these are, you can just leave it like that. One of the beautiful part of Xcode and iOS development, it embedded unit testing for our app. The reason why Apple enforces, very robust code, very less bug application, and they give this kind of facility for any developer on Xcode. Okay. The core data here, we won't use core data at the moment, but core data is basically database. If you want to work, if you want to build application with database, you have to choose core data. So those maybe if you're familiar with SQLite for Android, Android Studio, so it is almost similar like SQLite for Android, but on iOS or Apple, they develop their own product called Core Data, but the base product is actually they took from SQLite. So they took SQLite and they built their own, do some customization and make their product called Core Data. But we don't want to use now. So click next. Okay, so this is where we can store our app. So I have Xcode available, my own folder, Xcode. So we click create. So this is the first time once we created the app. So the first view we created the app, you can see that on the left hand side here, on the left hand side is the file explorer, where you can find your app delegate, scene delegate, your view controller file, and your main storyboard. I believe maybe some of you already have some idea developing Objective-C or iOS app on Xcode, but maybe this is some refresher course for you. Hopefully this will help you a lot. So Xcassette, asset.xcassette. So this is basically the folder if you have icon. Sometimes you want to have some images, you want to have some icons on your app, you can put in asset.xcassettes. I don't use other things, but product is the compile app. So see, we can have the SE demo.app. So this is the compile product. So you can take here, you can take this, and if you want to upload onto the Apple platform to publish it, you can take from this one. Then this is like APK APK for Android, but for iOS they call app.app. Okay. So this is some configuration before we start. So if you work with, like for example, if you are building the next version of your app, you can change here 1.0, 1.1, 2.0, and so on. The reason why we have to choose version here, because for example, if you have version 1.0 on App Store, if you choose 1.1 now and you upload this app onto the Apple platform, Apple will notify all users, please update your app now, because there is a new version available by the developer. So that's the purpose of having version. However, build, this is basically for developers only. So version is for mass user, build is for developer. So for version 1.0, we can have maybe like build 1.1. If we improve something, maybe we can have build 1.2, just like, you know, after we fix some bugs, and we have 1.3 after that. So this is the purpose of having build. So I want to develop something for, generally I just take as it is, but for this purpose I don't want to develop for iPad, I want to develop for iPhone. And I think that's it. So as long as you tick some of the settings here, it's good to go. So once finished here, we want to start with designing the screen. So to design the screen, we have to use the storyboard. The storyboard is the one that will manage all your UI elements and all your, basically your screen. Okay, so this is the screen that I was talking about. Okay, because I chose single view app, I can only have one screen or one view only. Okay, left is the view of explorer, in the middle is your screen. Nanti bila when you run the app, you can see down here is your we call as a console. So console is the one, you know, if you have some errors and whatnot, it will be displayed down there. So on the right, something like navigator. We don't use that much unless we will use we call as attribute inspector. Attribute inspector, for example, if we want to change the font size of your label later on, we will use this right panel. But as of now, we don't want to do anything. Okay, so we can see that. Okay, we can see that view controller. Remember, one view controller will control one view. And okay, let's add some UI elements. Okay, to add UI elements, there is a plus button here, as they call as library. So click this button, and you can see that, you know, there are lots of UI elements, user interface elements available. Okay, but right now we want to use only a few. We want to use label button and also text field. Okay, so let's drop. We can use drag and drop, no problem. We want to use one label, click again. We want to use maybe one button, and we want to use one text field. So how to rename this one? Either you click here, you can, so the right, so once you click any of this UI element, it's very small actually. Okay. So once you click the UI elements, you can see that you can change the properties of the label on the right. So for example, if I want to change the label, I can change from here. Hello. Okay. I can change from here, or I can also click from this one. So welcome to SE demo, for instance. Okay. So it gives you perspective whenever you design a screen. I think I like Xcode that much. I mean, as of now, because it gives me perspective on how to design, how to put the layout, how to put the button. It gives me some sort of guidelines. So I want to have this one also. So I want to make, like, you know, a bit big, and I want to have one button. So button also I can change to submit. Okay. So enough as of now. So we already have this kind of some sort of UI elements, some UI elements on the screen, and we want to test this for the first time. So how to test this for the first time? So we have the run button, top left we have the run button and stop button, and we have the simulator. Again, this is run button, stop button, and simulator. So we can choose. Last time when I installed Xcode, it gives me only two iPhone 11 Pro and iPhone 11 Pro Max, and right now it gives me a lot. Okay, generally I don't want to use iPhone SE, because iPhone SE gives me quite a bad user interface. So for this purpose, or for the sake of give you some share some example, I'm going to use iPhone 11 Pro Max. So we have to click this one. So we click run button. Okay, build succeeded means there's no error. Ada soalan tak? Any question tak? Please. Kenapa dia tengok after lah? It's quite slow. I'm running on 6 gigabyte. For this virtual machine alone, I'm running on 6 gigabyte, which my actual PC is running on another 6 gigabyte. Okay. Suddenly it has error. Okay, done. Alright. So this is for the first time we are having, we have the iOS app running on our simulator, because we are using simulator. Okay, so we'll add some buttons and some labels and whatnot, but this is so far for the first running for the first time. Okay, so we can have, like, as I mentioned, if you are working with your actual Mac, not virtual machine Mac, you can use your cable, connect directly with your Mac, so you can run the app directly on your phone, actual phone, not simulator, actual phone. Because I'm using virtual machine, so I cannot do that. Somehow the virtual machine cannot connect with my own phone. I don't know for what reason. So, okay, let me try. It says I can connect now. See, it gives me some errors. It gives me some sound. Okay, so that's alright. So we want to close this. Kita nak tambah sikit. Kita akan tambah. Maybe we will add some one label and also some functions. We'll give you some functions. Okay, so click the plus button, because we want to add some what we call as label. So this label I want to make a bit bigger, so just expand the size. So we can design accordingly as what we want. So I want to give center, I want to give maybe, quite a big size of font. We will use, instead of 17, maybe I will use 25, I guess. Let's try. Okay. So this one also I want to make middle. So whenever I enter some text on this text field, it will be from the center of the text field. And we can also change, for example, for this text field, we can change the keyboard. Maybe if we want to force the user to enter only numbers, we can change from keyboard type. So we can put ASCII, we can put URL, we can put number pad. So number pad is the user can only enter numbers. We cannot enter characters and whatnot. So phone pad is like email address. This is very specific for email, and decimal pad, something that must comes with decimal numbers and whatnot. So I just choose default as at the moment. Default means we don't want to change anything. We allow alphanumeric and also some special characters. So just choose default. So we have here, okay. So this is only the designing the screen. We have not touched the code yet. So let's touch the code. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 UI elements. Okay, so how to touch the code? So right now we have to go to do something with the UI elements. We have to go to view controller. How to go to view controller? We can go, there is one like small icon like paragraph icon on your top almost right. Click this icon. Okay, click assistant. It will bring you to the code. Okay. Oops, it is gone now. Okay, so we still need the screen because we have to do something with the screen together with the code. Okay. So remember, we have on the we call what as file explorer, we have appdelegate.h, appdelegate.m, scenedelegate.h, scenedelegate.m. We have also viewcontroller.h and viewcontroller.m. So right now we are working in, so this file is actually viewcontroller.m. So this file is viewcontroller.m. So .m means this is the main file. All the codes, all the brain, all the features should be here. If we write something on Objective-C, it should be here. So what is viewcontroller.h? So if you want to import some packages outside available from the Apple developer website, we have to do something in viewcontroller.h file. But I don't want to touch because I don't want to import anything. I just want to do something here. So we should work with viewcontroller.m file. Okay. So right now I want to give you some idea about, there are two things that we have to understand before we start coding. There are two things as what we call as actions, action and outlet. So action is something for input and action, something that some activity, whereby outlet is managing input and output. So for this purpose, for example, we have input and output. We have like this text field, and also the one that will display the text is this one. So these two will, the text field and the label will be action. So we will the outlet, whereby the button will be the action. Okay. So how to put the code? We can write the code, no problem. So in viewcontroller.h file, so we have two sections. We have the interface part and we have the implementation part. So we have to declare the outlet and also action here. So how to declare? As I mentioned, we can write it, but I don't want to waste my time. So we can use something like we call as control dragging in Xcode. So first we have to deal with outlet. So we click this text field and we click the control button on our keyboard and drag. Okay. So we'll have this small pop-up dialog box. So we have to give name for this particular text field. So for example, I give txt name and then click connect. So just everything remains as it is. Click connect. So it will give you something. So it will automatically declare the property, declare the UI elements for you. So this is the text name that for this one. So how to know this is outlet? It gives you here. And then we have to do the next one for the label. Same, control dragging. Click this one, click simultaneously the control button on the keyboard and drag. So we this is LBL output and connect. Okay. So two outlet done. So we have two outlet here. Right now we want to do action. Action is the submit button. Okay. So submit button also the same. We have to declare in this interface section. So control drag lepas release, and you have to change connection. You have to change to action. So in this action, I want to give show output. Okay, I will tell you why I give show output. The name here for action, so this is something like a method name. Okay, so click connect. So this is outlet that will manage your input and output, whereby action is the one that will process something, activity. So to declare property or text field, like text field and label, it gives you property. However, for action, it will give you like this. So show output. I give name for submit button as show output. Automatically, once you completed the show output declaration, the show output method down here will be created for you automatically. You don't have to do anything. Okay, so you can start write your code here. Some processes. Okay. Agak ada soalan tak? Ke saya laju sangat? Maybe if I go too fast, please let me know. Okay.
Hadi.
Yes.
Apa tu yang action tu dia macam event lah kan?
Ya, dia macam event. Yes, betul. It almost mirror like event, something that will handle anything related to button. Contoh, if we have like radio button, maybe once we click radio button, something will happen on the screen. That is also controlled by action, IB action. Okay. Okay, again. So once we finish this one, show output. This show output method will be created for you. Event. Or in Android and Java we call as event or event triggered, something like that. Okay, so we can write the code. Okay, I forgot the code, but let me check the code now. Okay, give me one moment. I'll get back to you. Boleh nampak screen tak? Can you see the screen now? Can you see the Xcode?
No.
Boleh nampak tak? Boleh?
Tak nampak.
Tak nampak?
Tak ada kod pun. Dah type ke?
Kejap. Nampak?
Tak ada apa. Nampak.
Okay. Alright. Okay. So, I just paste the code whatever I have. Okay. I didn't have this one because this is okay. Alright. So right now we have we want to take the text from the text file and we want to do something. So in Objective-C, so there are two types of variable we can choose. They call as primitive type, or there's another one data type. So primitive is normally like we use char, we use int, but in this example I'm use ns string. So ns string is another type of data type that is allowed in Objective-C. So whenever you declare variable, you give data type, and it should comes with asterisk. So we know Objective-C knows that this is a variable. Okay. So and then we call. So when we want to call the text file, we have to start with underscore, and the format should be in text. So this is quite rigid. with Objective-C and Xcode, I think this is one of the things that mostly discussed by developers, native app developers. They dislike this kind of mechanism of Xcode, and some, they move to Swift. Although they use Xcode, but they did not use Objective-C. They use Swift. For them, Swift is simpler than Xcode and than Objective-C and whatnot. But this is just for introduction. Okay. So we take the some text from the txt name, this one, and we put in name, and we want to process something. We want to display output in the label. Okay. So I think the reason why. Okay. So I give a variable called output. Remember, we have to come with the asterisk here, with an asterisk. Okay. In combining text in Objective-C, it's not straightforward. Like, if you are familiar with Java, I am battling with my Java knowledge for some reason. So I am adapting this kind of new knowledge of Objective-C. So we have to format the string accordingly. So this is a string for output, give an asterisk. So we have to do some concatenation. We want to concatenate hello with the name here. So we have an string. We create another text, another string variable. So we do some formatting with the string. So it will come out with this hello with your name on the screen. Okay. For example, if you have macam dengar something, sorry. So for example, if you have NS string also, maybe you give age. Maybe if you have another type, text field. Oops. Paste. Whoa. 1 second. Okay. So copy. Paste. Okay. Assuming that this is another variable. Give name different lah. Please. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to in Objective-C, the way they read variable is by using these symbols, percent symbol and at symbol. So if you have another symbol, you have to come up with like. Okay. So it means we have to add another one here like please. Okay. So this is how Objective-C reads variable that is declared, and how we want to display the variable we want to assign these variables into this string data type or string variable. Okay, but I don't have the place because place is also like the same thing with that one, so I don't have the intention to use that. So let use only one. Okay, so if by having this example, this output string. So I want to display this string output in the LBL output. LBL output comes from this one, this label on the left. This is too big, I guess. It's too big for the screen. I'll minimize it a bit. Okay, I think that's fine now. Okay, so like in Java, I think we have LBL output that set text. Similarly, like Objective-C. So LBL output, the method is set text. So the one that we will display on the set text is actually the output here. So when we want to use the variable, we should not put the asterisk. Asterisk is for declaring the variable. Okay. Yeah, unused variable. Okay, that's fine. So let's run this this app and let's see if it has some error. I think there's no error, hopefully. Okay. So it takes the text from the text field, declare a variable as name, and then combine hello with the name and create another variable of output and display that output variable in the label using the set text method. Straightforward. No junky monkey. Simple. Okay. Okay. So ada soalan tak? Please, if you have any question, sebenarnya that's the purpose of having this first session of sharing session, demo. If you have any, I will try my very best to answer lah. Maybe I cannot answer all. I'm pretty new to iOS. I'll try. Unfortunately, the keyboard is not appearing. This is also another problem sometimes. You know, when we run the app, suppose I didn't have this problem last time. When we click this text field, the keyboard should be automatically appearing, but it is not appearing for some reason. Maybe I have to check the code later. But that is somehow the objective of this, you know, demonstration. Ada soalan tak?
Dia punya kod tu Hadi macam C kan sikit-sikit sebab dia pakai placeholder tu macam C kan?
Yes. Kan? Dia derive pada C. Dia derive pada C. Sebab tu dia macam kod dia is not very friendly sangat lah. So because if we talk about C++, it's friendlier than C.
Yes.
It's also derived from C. But somehow Objective-C is, I would say, is almost dekat juga dengan C.
That's why lah dia panggil Objective-C tu. Okay.
Objective-C, yes. Okay. So kalau kata, for example, if you, this is we call a single view app. If we want to work with multiple, we call as tab app. Tab app sekejap saya cari tab app ada tak? If we have tab, where is it? Okay, like this one. Okay. In tab app, we have tab down here. We have 3 tabs and each tab may have different screen. So if we click the first tab, it will give like this one. First tab, view controller 1. Second tab, view controller 2. Third tab, view controller 3. If we want to work with multiple tab, kalau ada permintaan, if somebody requests, maybe if I want to share like tab application after this, I can share, no problem. But you have to let me know.
Please share, Hadi.
Macam mana?
Please share how to do multiple tab.
Nak buat sekarang ke nak buat nanti? Sebab kita
Next time.
Next time, okay, kita buat next time.
Next session.
Next session. Okay. We'll try to next session.
Hadi, kalau nak set up VM tu berapa minimum requirement dia? 70 gig.
Okay, if we want to set, this is my own experience. I set up the VM. I started with mula-mula 50 gig. 50 gig. Tapi 50 gig, once I set up VM, I install Xcode, I cannot run the VM because Xcode itself is 7 gigabyte.
7 gig. Okay, Xcode 7 gig.
Lots of sources. So that's the reason I came up with 70 gig. So if you have 70 gig, you can install VM, you can install Xcode and you can run the whole thing. Kalau kita boleh, I mean, there's no purpose of having VM and then we install Xcode but we cannot run it.
So at least 70 gig in C drive.
C drive.
Okay.
Saya pernah try, I've tried once to install in D drive. Unfortunately, I cannot run the virtual machine.
Dia punya memory, minimum memory?
Minimum memory, okay. Ini saya baca apa yang saya baca kat blog. Minimum memory, you must have at least 8. You can run with 6. Okay. The problem is, if you run virtual machine together with your Windows, you run Windows, maksudnya dia run Windows dengan virtual machine sekali tau. So they will share memory.
Okay.
So if you have 6 gig only, your own Windows will have 3 gig and your virtual machine will have 3 gig. Apa yang maksudnya RAM tak cukup. Apa yang tinggal untuk PC ni jalan?
Oh, I see. So it's better to have 8.
Better to have 8 so that you assign virtual machine with 4.
Okay.
So kita kena macam memory management, and this management kena agak okay lah, because when the first time I tried memang it was chaotic lah. Ni tak boleh run, 2 error, Xcode tak boleh install. So I experienced a bit, take like 2-3 days to fix it. I didn't do anything, I just fixed the virtual machine.
Okay.
Limek lah Syah.
Man.
Itulah tengah Google.
No, yelah. Tapi itulah, Mac is macam saya cakap lah tadi, native developer dia orang benci benda tu sebenarnya, sebab we have to use with Mac, but they do have Mac. Cumanya Mac untuk dapat very good spec mahal lah. If you want to get SSD like 512 SSD, 500GB SSD memang mahal gila lah. It's very expensive.
Hadi, if iPad, lepas tak?
Macam mana?
Handle all that thing. iPad, using iPad.
Okay. Maksudnya nak run Xcode kat iPad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have not, I just read 2 days ago, they have not launched Xcode on iPad, but they will do maybe in the final quarter this year, which we can run Xcode on iPad and iPhone.
Bestnya. Tapi berapa minimum requirement?
Minimum requirement tak tahu. Because diorang pun tak keluar lagi. They have not come up with the actual release. They just give you some introductory marketing lah.
Okay, Hadi homework tolong search boleh tak guna iPad.
Macam saya cakap lah, dia akan come out by the end of this year, the last quarter.
Okay, alright.
They will release it. Okay. Any more question? Maybe Dr. Alim or Dr. Aziz, if you want to ask, please. I'm happy to get you wrong. Hopefully not lah.
Actually, I like the demonstration, but I have no idea how to develop for mobile development. This is the first time for me, and I really liked it. Thank you very much. Thank you. But I'm trying from like 2 hours ago, trying to download and install Mac OS on my computer, but my computer is not really sufficient for it.
Yeah. That's the problem. That's the reason. So I mentioned last time in the Teams. So I mean, if we want to go with the next type application, so you have to settle the actually the longest one that may consume your time is actually to download the Catalina, the OS itself. Like myself, it takes me 1 day to complete only download. The file is roughly around 10 GB. So installation takes like after you install, it will consume like 17 GB of your hard disk. And there are lots of other files created, and then you install Xcode. It takes lots of resources.
Okay.
Dr. Hadi, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. How are you?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Very good, Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much for your informative presentation. My question about the HTML5, or they call it a cross-platform environment. So what is the advantages of using, for example, Xcode if we have, for example, the cross-platform environment?
Okay. Okay, let's go back to the slide. I think I put some slides. Let me get this down first. I'll share with you the slides. Where is the slides? Okay, so this is the slides. Actually, the slides is already in the chat box. You can also download the same thing, but I will explain it from here. So if you talk about cross-platform, you can develop app by using hybrid. We cannot use build cross-platform app by using native unless for the game, because I think the game that is available in Xcode is just newly introduced by Xcode and by Apple. But if you, for example, if you want to build one code for multiple platform, you have to use hybrid, and there's no purpose using Xcode. Okay, because in hybrid, as the slogan says, you write one, run everywhere.
Yes, this is my question. If we have one environment that can develop a software for multiple platform, so what is the point of using native environment?
Okay, so why some people still use native? Because native is okay. Let's talk from the perspective of hybrid. If you develop code using hybrid mechanism, sometimes you cannot work with some hardware of the devices.
Because it's not 100% compatible.
It's not 100% compatible because hybrid is actually running web application, web view on
Yes.
to run web application.
Yes, one view.
Okay, like for example, if you want to have double in iPhone, if you are using iPhone, in iPhone we have double click and also pinching and double tapping, and you cannot do that on hybrid because hybrid cannot support that kind of facility.
Means there is some feature which are in the native environment cannot be existed in the hybrid.
Yes, especially for games. Because in games we use lots of pinching and double tapping. If you play like very extensive games, we have to do double tapping a lot, and normally the developer will develop on native application, native platform.
Okay, understood. All right, thank you so much.
No problem.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay. Ada apa lagi tak? Baca.
Ada, okay.
Sorry. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Sorry. Dia saya
Yes.
putus. Okay, sorry.
Hadi, slide ni dah share dekat dalam ni dekat dalam Teams ni.
Saya dah share dekat chat box. Nanti saya akan share dalam Teams tu sendiri.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. So I think if there's no question, thank you very much. I'm sorry for maybe not having a full knowledge on this iOS development, but I'm just the purpose of sharing is just to share whatever I know. InsyaAllah kalau lah contohlah ada student or whoever yang rasa berminat, I can share also on Android. Saya ada develop some app for Android, simple app. We can go up until the database even. InsyaAllah I'll try. Let's see. Kalau ada apa-apa, maybe boss boleh. I tak tahulah kalau boss ada planning whatever kan. Kalau time-nya kena, insyaAllah saya boleh cuba. Very much. Thank you very much. Kalau tak ada apa-apa lagi, I think that's it, yeah. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Dr. Hadi.
Thank you so much, Hadi.
Thank you, Dr. Hadi.
Ramadan.
Be safe everyone over there. Be safe.
Happy Ramadan.
Happy birthday.
InsyaAllah.
Happy Ramadan.
And please Ramadan for everyone.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Assalamualaikum.